We are getting started. So I would love just, oh, I'll let Cedar keep doing that. I can do this. I can focus. I would love to hear where you guys are from. I know we have people from all over on the class. Please put in the chat where you're from. We're so glad you're here. Angela, Melissa, Stacy, Chloe, just so many people. I can't even say all of your names. Sandy, Ruth, Kelly, Mandy. So glad you guys are here and excited to share and learn together. And I'm really excited for you guys to see and understand about some really revolutionary things that are coming. I have been reading a lot and I've been studying, preparing the last several months. Chloe's from Colorado, awesome. And just really excited about what doTERRA has been preparing for years, basically. Just to give you a little bit of background, David Sinclair is one of the world's leading researchers. Dr. David Sinclair, he has a book called Lifespan, very interesting read. But he's one of the world's leading researchers out of Harvard, and doTERRA has been researching for years, and they actually have really collaborated with him and incorporate a lot of the things that he has discovered. And he actually came and spoke at one of our doTERRA leader retreats that we did, and kind of sharing about his discoveries and how we in doTERRA are incorporating some of those things. So it's very cutting edge, very exciting that we get to be a part of this and be so blessed and benefited by these products. So I'm going to start by sharing screen here. Let's see if I can get to the right spot. Okay. And there we go. Let me come back up to the top of my slideshow. Sorry about that. All right, let me put this in present mode. And we are all good. So, okay. We want you to live a powerful life. And what's really exciting is this idea and what they're discovering that we can actually, through really helping heal and improve our metabolism, through a lot of different things in the body, we can actually increase our health span, not just our lifespan. So much research over the years has really focused on how do we live longer, right? But more in recent decades, people have started to say, you know, we don't just want to live longer. We want to have a healthier, longer health span. It's not just about living longer. In America, it's very likely you'll live close to a decade in very poor health, where you're not as functional and mobile and able to, live the life that you want to. That is crazy, right? And what's exciting is we're learning more and more about why that is and how we can shift that and how we can change that. So, and I will go back one more slide really quickly. You can see here on the slide, we've got the Lifelong Vitality Pack. Last week, we had a really great class about that. And it's a really great supporting piece of what I'm going to be talking and teaching about today with metabolism and with blood sugar levels and with things that can turn on your longevity genes and all these things we're going to be talking about. So it's a great piece, but the Lifelong Vitality is really a really important foundation that gives your body all the nutritional building blocks. And we're not going to go into that a lot today, but that's a very important part about for your metabolism to function properly, is to have all those building blocks nutritionally. And so I just have to mention how crucial that is. So if you have not learned about that, there's constantly new information coming out, more and more research. And I think in the future, we will have some even newer, more information maybe you've never even learned before about the Lifelong Vitality. But if you're new, be sure and watch last week's class that Christy Renaud taught about supplements and nutritionals with doTERRA, because there's some really, really key foundational information there. So, okay. I don't know how many of you, feel free to, I guess, a rhetorical question, have ever learned about biological age? And basically, it's not just like how, your birthday to where you are now. Your biological age is actually, they can measure it through blood and different tests they can do in the body and find out how old relatively is your body actually, because you could be 40 and have a 30-year-old biological age, or if you smoke and have a really poor dietary habits and never exercise, you might be 40 and have a 50 biological age. So it's really interesting that they're discovering that the metabolic health that we have, our metabolism, is inseparably connected with our biological age. That means the aging process in our body. It's not just all these separate little things that are happening. It's not just your skin's getting wrinkly and your joints are getting more stiff and, all these, your hair is getting gray. What they've discovered is aging is actually controlled by longevity genes. Your metabolism is a really big factor and a player in that aging process. It's not as separate as they thought it was. They're finding that genetics and metabolism are more at the root of influencing the aging process, if that makes sense. So I think that's a really interesting idea, right? Have you ever thought about that? I don't know if anybody on this call has ever had it tested and done to see what is your biological age, if you've ever had that measured. But I think it's really important to point out that your metabolic health is a big root of that. So did you know that your metabolism influences your energy levels? It also influences your weight, your body composition, right? So your, how much fat you have, to how much lean muscle, all those things. It actually influences your sleep. That's something I think a lot of people don't realize, that your metabolism is really connected with your sleep and influences that. And then your mind as well. That's another one, your cognitive performance. So I thought that was a really important thing to understand. So what is metabolism? Jenica, I asked if she would get on and share a little bit. Well, before you share, Jenica, I'm just gonna go back, go to this one. Okay, this is a book that I would highly recommend reading if you are interested in the weight loss part of metabolism. The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung is a really great read, and there's so much really crucial information here, but I want to share one thing that he talked about in the book. He talked about how depending on which study you look at, the FDA did a study back in the 90s. There have been more recent studies that have been done that have shown that between like 95 and 99% of people who ever lose weight gain it back. And the reason is, so it's, almost 99% is pretty statistically almost impossible, right? Only 1% of people are able to do that. Depending on the study, it might be a little bit more, but basically a very, very small, and it doesn't matter what kind of diet they used. It doesn't matter if they did low carb or low fat or, keto or whatever, across the board in all the weight loss things that people do, that's 1 to 5% are actually able over a year and 3 years later able to actually keep the weight off. And why is that? And so he talks about how the whole reason is metabolism and insulin and blood sugar levels. That is why. And he gives this example that I thought was really crucial. And I think this is a great way to lay the foundation for this class. He talks about how trying to lose weight by just managing your calories and your exercise and your, what you're eating, what you're putting in your body is like, a room full of doctors where the faucet is turned on and all the doctors are going around just mopping and mopping and mopping because what you're doing is you're treating the symptom of where there's actually a root problem that needs to be fixed and changed. And the whole purpose of his book is saying that if we can fix the metabolism, and if we can actually fix the insulin and blood sugar levels in the body and heal and improve those, that's what turning off the faucet is like. And that's why most people who ever lose weight, and this class isn't solely on weight loss, it's just a little piece of what we're going to talk about, but I just think it's really interesting to understand. That's why it's so difficult to take it off, because most people who are having issues with regulating their weight in a healthy way, more at the root is their metabolism, their insulin levels, and their blood sugar levels. So that's I just thought that was a really easy way to see, like, okay, if that's all we're focusing on is all the symptomatic things, you're never going to be done. You're never going to fix it until you turn off the faucet, which is basically healing the metabolism and the blood sugar levels. So okay, Jenica, if you want to share a little bit more here, I just had some great things from doTERRA that they had put out to help us better understand what metabolism is. It's kind of a loosely used term, and I thought it would be really helpful to first get a good idea of what it actually is. Are you on, Jenica? I think I let you in.
Good. Now I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yep, you're good.
Okay. Okay, great. So Oh, it's been so fascinating to learn more about this. Like, I feel like I have had a pretty good understanding of health, right? But there's been a ton that I've learned. So metabolism is basically every chemical process in the body necessary for the maintenance of life. Okay. So when you think about that, right, like it is like the center of a wheel, and then you have all these spokes that come out of it, right? So it's the biological theory of everything. So you've covered some of this, Amy, but like energy production, that's metabolism. Building new tissues, that's metabolism. Breaking down old tissue to repair it, that's metabolism. The elimination of waste is metabolism. Growth, that's our metabolism at work. Cellular production, metabolism. Warding off disease, metabolism. So when you think about all of the things that our metabolism does, it's so much bigger than just like we're burning calories, right? It's really affecting all of that. So it's basically everything your body does. So metabolic syndrome is a very serious issue and problem, right? And it's so huge and vast, and I mean, there's just too many of us are dealing with that. I was going to point out a couple of other things. I'm trying to look at what I wrote down here. Oh, let's see. Okay, so you also discussed a little bit about this, Amy, but the glucose, like we have an excess amount of glucose in the body, and that means that we are aging faster. So back to what you were talking about, chronological health, right? Versus chronological age versus
Biological.
Biological. Yeah. So that's crazy when you think about that. That excess glucose in our body is making us age so quickly. So really, if we can get a hold of slowing down those really increased levels, really turning those things around, then not only are we improving all of those systems that our metabolism is in charge of, right? But we're aging slower, right? Like we're doing better. That's why you can live healthier longer, right? Because of metabolism. Okay. I was not even looking at the slide. I was just reading some of the things that I wrote down. So it influences, yes, your energy, your weight, your body composition, cognitive performance. That was one that I was super surprised about. I didn't really realize how much metabolism is in charge of our cognition, our memory, just brain function. So it's the chemical reactions that change food into energy for our cells. That's what gives us our energy. That's what gives us our performance, really, is our metabolic health. Let's see. Yeah. And then weight, of course, that's the main one people think about when they think of metabolism, is like, if I have slow or poor metabolism, then I have weight issues, right? That's, I think, probably one of the fastest or most common definitions that people have. But really it affects, our metabolism affects so much more. And our metabolic health is also directly linked to our inflammatory levels, right? So like inflammation is really affected by our metabolism and how that's balanced or imbalanced in our body. Let's see. Yeah, blood sugar level, blood pressure, your lipid types and levels. That's another thing that that I was reading about, is just your lipid levels and your lipid types, and that all is affected by your metabolic health. So just think of it, like I said, I think of like a wheel, and then it's right here in the center, and then there are all of these things that shoot off from our metabolic processes that it is directly contributing to and affecting. So much more than we typically think of.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jenica. So I love that idea of the wheel and the different, pieces. Sorry, I'm needing that. And I was going to share one thing about metabolism, and it'll hopefully come back to me. Oh, well, we'll talk about that later with type 3 diabetes, what they're calling now. Oh, I was going to say one simple thing, and we're going to talk about solutions with doTERRA, but I always love to add in some other just lifestyle things that you can do as well to help influence and benefit these parts of your body, right? And of course, exercise is one that can really help. Another one is a lot of research has showed. So what can you do to increase your metabolism naturally, right? Your intermittent fasting is one that more and more research is showing how, interestingly, actually eating in a smaller window, a 6-hour window or 8-hour or 4-hour, whatever you choose to do, or even doing like 1 day a week or something like that, can actually improve your resting metabolic rate, which is basically how many calories your body burns just to like sustain, right? You want to have that be more rather than less, and that's your metabolism at work that's creating that. And so intermittent fasting is a really great simple thing that you can do. Just even bring that window of eating down to 8 hours compared to, you know, like most Americans where it might be 12 to 14 hours. You eat first thing in the morning and you eat right before you go to bed. So okay, let's see the slideshow. There we go. Okay, whoops, let me go back one. All right, so I love this. Do you want to live longer, younger, longer, and look and feel even better? And I think that's why we all want to feel our best, right? We want to be our best selves. We want to have the energy to be the best parent or the best sister or wife, or, you know, just to fulfill your purpose and mission. And when your metabolism is out of whack, and things start to just degenerate or be unwell, that really takes a significant toll. And I love that. I'm really excited the impact that what we're going to share can have. So these are just before we get into all the nitty gritty of things, I wanted to share just a couple testimonials of people that I have connected with. Or some of these are US founders. They're people that are leading the way in doTERRA, and they've been able to try some of the products early. But you can see a before and after picture here. Let me move this to the top. You guys can see it a little bit better because this, oops, sorry, is kind of covering. There we go. All right, so this is from McKay, and just pretty cool. 4 pounds, you can see several inches. That's where you're seeing the biggest difference, is in the inches, because again, the body is burning more fat. And when you're helping shift out of burning the glucose, really exciting, just her before and afters in a pretty short amount of time, but several inches. And I like how she said she's sleeping much better, and her brain fog has been a lot more clear. Rich has actually been able to use some of the products we're going to talk about, and we have not been diligent in doing measurements on a cruise, but something he has said is really noticing having more energy, and we'll talk more about that. But here's one other before and after. Oops, sorry. Gotta love, my computer is just having issues today. Okay, so this is another one from Michelle, and she just, you can see here just the difference. Some of the, again, it's just the burning of the fat that's going on versus just losing muscle or water weight like you traditionally would see. 8 pounds at first during the trial, she's now down 10, but more so you can see the inches is where people are really seeing more improvement as the body is shifting to burning more fat rather than just always glucose, and the metabolism improving and getting better. So she also was doing some things with intermittent fasting at the same time and trying to be more careful in what she was eating. When she was doing intermittent fasting, she wasn't. But really cool to see the progress and just to see people feeling better. So this is doTerra's new product system. We gave you a little sneak peek last week. And it is a system that's designed to work together. Of course, individually, any of these products are very supportive, but when they're used together, you're going to get much more effective, just whole body system improvements over time in a lot of key areas in the body system. So we're gonna go into depth with each of these products, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about, we've got just the MetaPower is now, the Slim and Sassy has been, basically they've done more research, they've reformulated, and it's now called MetaPower because it is different, and they're replacing that. So if you've previously had good success, I've known tons of people who've really had success with Slim and Sassy. We're excited because this will be even more helpful because the blend of the oils is just even more effective, and the flavor also is a little bit better, I've heard from people. But they now have those capsules with the new formulation, as well as the oil now is MetaPower instead of Slim and Sassy, and they have some beadlets, which is really fun. So what the benefit you're going to see here, because we're not going to talk too much about these ones, we're going to focus more on the other ones. But the benefit you'll see with just the MetaPower alone is going to be less cravings, more stable blood sugar levels, and just supporting the body in healthy weight management. So okay, so, oh yeah, and then we also have the gum is the last one that we've got here, where again, just an easy way to help curb cravings and allow you to just not be having the treats and avoiding the things that we know are really not helpful when your body's trying to heal and work towards healthier weight and things like that. So or people that, if you're just, even if weight isn't an issue, if you're trying to just keep and maintain healthy blood sugar levels to prevent that aging process that Jenica talked about, right? Like the more that we can keep those levels stable, the better off, and the less glucose we can have excess in the body, the better, right? So this just gives you some more tools to really do that. So okay, so the MetaPower Metabolic Assist, this is the exciting one. And this actually has some really cool ingredients. So it has the doTerra's, it has the MetaPower blend in it, but it actually has some other things added. So let me tell you a little bit about blood sugar stability. In fact, Jenica, do you want to talk a little bit about, was this the other thing? I can't remember what two things oh, you're going to talk about collagen. Never mind, Jenica, I forgot. My brain just had a little moment there. Anyway, I love talking about blood sugar stability because this is really, really important in so many levels for our aging and keeping that health span longer, right? So there really are one of the most significant markers of your health. And, I mean, naturally they'll fluctuate a little bit, but what's really important is normally, before we became a westernized society and we ate all whole food, right? Before sugar was invented and before all the things that we eat that are processed now came around, right? Most of the food that we ate really didn't cause a very significant blood sugar spike. It might have caused a small spike, but the food that we were eating was very complex and did not, they were not a lot of simple carbohydrates like we have in our diet now. There were some, but not nearly the same level that we have now. And so our bodies were designed to be able to have those blood sugar spikes occasionally, but they were not designed to have them all the time. We start off in America with breakfast, and what do we have? Processed cereal that's super simple carbohydrates that causes these high blood sugar spikes, or something with sugar in it, right? Even if it's not, even if it's like, what's the word? Artificial sweeteners or whatever, that sweet taste still causes those high blood sugar spikes, research has shown. And that is what is one of the roots of the problems is our cells were not designed. So let me just explain this basic process really quickly, because I hope it'll make sense to you. So when our bodies have a high blood sugar or any kind of blood sugar spike, our body has to produce some level of insulin. The higher the blood sugar spike, the more insulin our body has to produce. And then our cells take in that insulin to help to be able to process the glucose and deal with that in a healthy way, right? Well, the problem is because we constantly have glucose, right, from our diets, which is not how it's supposed to be. Our bodies are constantly having to produce insulin. And what happens over time is our cells start to get to where they can't take in and utilize that insulin very well. They become what's called insulin resistant. And so we know from research, that's one of the more recent discoveries in the last couple of decades, is insulin actually causes your body to store fat. So you don't want your body to be having to produce insulin all the time if you can avoid that, right? Which is why it's better to keep a low, eat more whole food and things that are complex. Anyway, so what happens is our bodies are constantly producing insulin, which gives our bodies the message to store fat. Anybody who's, has type 2 diabetes will tell you, when they start getting on insulin, they will start to gain weight. That is one of the side effects, unfortunately, of having to supplement and take insulin. And so over time, our bodies just produce more and more, and our cells are just more and more resistant to be able to utilize the insulin. So it's the way that we can heal that in the body is by reducing those spikes. And that allows those cells to be like, okay, we can manage this. This isn't such a constant thing, right? And that's really one of the best ways that we can allow that process to heal and reduce that insulin resistance. And we can also, there's oils that actually can help support the cells in healing, which is what's in the MetaPower line, which is exciting. So anyway, so that's really important to not have those constant crashes, those spikes, highs and lows, right? And MetaPower the research has been really exciting in showing what it does to help really, really improve this process. And let me tell you why. So first of all, only 7%, you guys, of the US population has optimal metabolic health. Okay. So if you're in that 7%, good job. You still need to do the work to maintain that, right? But most of us probably don't have very good metabolic health. What that means is we probably have higher insulin levels and higher blood glucose levels than are the actual ideal for a really healthy body, for staying young longer, right? And I talked about how those complex carbohydrates, right? They're aptly named as their sugar chains are longer and more complicated to digest, so they don't spike your blood sugar as much, right? So that makes them slower and less likely to spike your blood glucose levels. So what's exciting about the MetaPower, and I thought, let me see if I didn't put the slide in there, darn it, is that mulberry leaf is in the MetaPower Assist. And research studies have shown it reduces your the blood glucose response by 41%, is what the research shows with the mulberry leaf that's in the MetaPower, which is really exciting. And they're doing studies on the MetaPower. And what it does, it goes and binds, and it basically helps make, when you are eating a simple carbohydrate, it helps your body, it delays that glucose hit in the bloodstream. And so it basically, your body treats it like it's a complex carbohydrate. It really dramatically reduces that blood sugar spike, is what's happening with the MetaPower Metabolic Assist, because of it has the oil blend in there, and then it also has that mulberry leaf that is really powerful in helping just basically shift that response. So when you take it before a meal, that's the way that you'll use it. You'll take that before a meal. And if you're eating a really whole, like non-blood sugar spiking meal, right? If it's a salad without a sugary dressing, right? You probably won't need to take that. But if you're eating something that's sweet or simple carbohydrates, breads, or anything that's going to spike your blood sugar, and some people, it could even be even fruits, even like grapes for some people. It's so interesting. They used to think that blood sugar levels, that different foods would have the same effect on, or a pretty similar effect on everyone. But the research is showing now that actually different foods have very different effects on different people. So it can be really helpful to you can actually get a prescription from your doctor to get like a blood sugar monitor like a patch you put on your arm, and you could kind of find out with your own body what causes spikes and what doesn't. Because for some people, some things don't cause a spike, and for others it does. It's so interesting. But in general, right? Anytime you're eating something that's going to, especially if there's sugar, obviously that's always going to happen, right? Or anything that's really sweet. But just, it's exciting that, we're not all going to be perfect in eating whole food, complex carbohydrates all the time. And so when we aren't, we have this solution that we can take at the beginning of the meal, and it can prevent that negative impact in that way. Now, you're still going to have the effect that sugars have on your gut and all those things. So we're not saying go ahead and eat all those things whenever you want, right? Like, the foundation of your health is going to be what you put in your body, especially for your diet. So, but this is great because I love that it makes it more manageable to just, be able to live a normal lifestyle and have things occasionally and not have as negative an impact in terms of your blood sugar levels and having the insulin response and all those things. So super exciting. So the next one that we're going to talk about.
Amy,
yes, go ahead.
Sorry, you explained this, I think, really well and thoroughly, but just like a shorthand, what it does, you're turning fast carbs into slow carbs.
Yeah.
So if you can think of it in that way, like, you can get more, like Amy did a great job of being really thorough, but if that's over your head and you're like, what does that all mean? You're slowing down your body's process of converting those fast carbs into a blood sugar spike, right? You're just slowing that down. Always, it's best to make good choices. But like you said, like, it's a little bit of a repentance game, right? Like, okay, I probably ought to be eating in a more balanced way. And of course that's encouraged. Like, that's always encouraged. But in the event you're not, or you're eating something that's that fast carb, you're actually just bringing those spikes down. So, so that your body is not, it's as though it didn't, in some ways, not in all ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the blood sugar spike, it's as though you didn't eat what you ate. I mean, like Amy said, you're still having effects in the body elsewhere, but it's really managing that. So you're just turning those fast carbs, slowing it down into slow carbs. That's my little summary.
Love that simple explanation. Thank you, Jenica. That's so helpful. Because yeah, it can sound a little bit complex and overwhelming. And I always like to share other tips too, like I said. And one of the other things that you can do is actually just walking after your meal. A brisk walk for 10 minutes, research has shown, can decrease the blood glucose response by as much as 50%. So if you were doing, that's the thing is, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I can't go take a walk right now though, and even if you are able to take a walk, taking this in combination with it is going to help even more, right? So especially if you're where you're trying to manage and get to a healthier weight, this is going to be super helpful. But if you're even like where me, I'm like, you know what, I could maybe lose a few pounds, but like for being preventative in the aging process, that's why I'm going to be using this. It's not just about weight loss. It's about longevity and slowing down that aging process, increasing my health span. And because that's why we spent so much time in the beginning talking about how key the metabolism and how it's at the foundation of all of that. So these things are going to help significantly improve that and allow us to just over time extend that health span and decrease that aging, time, increase our biological, keep that biological age younger, right? Versus your chronological age. So, okay, so that's the MetaPower Assist. So just to clarify, there's the MetaPower Blend soft gels, and this is just the oil blend. There's the MetaPower Assist that has the mulberry leaf in it. And I think there actually might be one more ingredient. Anybody at the leaders want to hop on? I had a slide that I thought I'd put in there, but
cinnamon, mulberry, berberine, cinnamon.
There you go, berberine. That's the other one. Thank you. And then the MetaPower blend. Yep. So that's different. And it has those additional ingredients. They're going to have an even more dramatic response on helping to decrease that glucose response when you eat, right? And take it at the beginning of the meal. And then we've got the oil as well that you could add to your water. You could use it topically, anything like that. So, and then the gum. So the next one we're going to talk about, and I'm so excited about, and this is where Dr. Sinclair comes in, is with our doTERRA MetaPower Advantage line. And this is their little sachets, and you just add it into water. It kind of has like a lemon lime flavor. It's very mild. It's slightly sweet. And what were you going to say, Jenica?
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Keep it on.
Oh, I love it. It's great.
Like, oh shoot, she's moving on, and I want to say this before you move on from it.
You're good.
Because you just finished the Assist, which are the capsules.
Yeah.
So really exciting because we've already talked about what it does, but with this short-term dosing study that doTERRA already conducted, that with the MetaPower Assist, the capsules, right, that you're taking right before your meal, there was a 13% reduction in blood glucose levels. 13%. That's how much that brought that down. Anyway, I just like numbers. I thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, with that one. And I'm curious to see once they have the longer term, because they had shared in their slides about the studies that have been done just on the mulberry leaf, and how that all comes to play. And you guys, this is just an introduction because we've been given some great basic information, and we'll talk more about how we can dive deeper and hear from like the researchers and the scientists and start to see all the studies they've been doing. It's super exciting. So thanks for sharing, Jenica. Excuse me. Okay, so the MetaPower Advantage is really, so these two products I would say are the most like revolutionary. It is super exciting. They're like people who are on medication for type 2 diabetes, like typically you don't see that good of a result even from taking insulin, which is just basically, Dr. Fung also has a book. If you know anybody who is type 2 diabetic, I would definitely have you read first the diabetes code. Actually, he has one specifically on diabetes. He is, this is kind of his specialty where he's worked with patients, but he talked about how, insulin, if you take insulin when you are insulin sensitive, it's just like treating an alcoholic with alcohol because insulin's the whole problem in the first place, that the body's having produced too much, right? and the fact that the cells won't take it in. And so over time, that's why it's considered by the traditional medical world an incurable disease, even though in the holistic integrative medicine world, we know it's totally curable. But it's just not curable if you treat it with insulin, because that just makes the problem worse over time, even though temporarily in the short term, it makes it better. Just like, an alcoholic, yeah, they're going to feel better when they have alcohol, but in the long term, it actually does lots of damage, and it's the same thing. So I just wanted to point out the numbers that we're seeing from the MetaPower Assist are really, really exciting. And as I've talked with several doctors who, work with a lot of type 2 diabetes patients, they are just like, I cannot wait to have them using this, because there's not a lot out there in the medical world that's actually getting at the root like the MetaPower Assist is. So super exciting. And again, even if you don't have type 2 diabetes, a huge number of Americans are pre-diabetic and have high insulin or blood glucose levels. So, okay. So let me just go back and say, so the MetaPower Advantage has 13, I have like something in my throat, I'm sorry. Jenica, I'm going to have you take over here, because I think I'm going to have to get some water. But you're muted. Sorry, Jenica.
Dang, sorry, I'm muting because I've got kids all around and then I forget.
Oh, you're good. I think I'm okay now.
Okay.
I was just going to say the MetaPower Advantage, it has 13 different ingredients, and the big exciting ones are NMN and collagen are some of the two ones we're really excited about. But all the ingredients in them are actually really exciting. We're going to give you a little bit tonight, and we'll go more in depth after convention, and we'll get a lot more there. But we're going to talk about collagen first. So go ahead, Jenica.
Oh, and then to Jen's question, we're chatting online. I was just looking at the ingredients. There is red orange complex, whatever, I guess, red orange complex. I'm looking at my notes, what I wrote down here. She was asking if there's orange in it. I'm not exactly sure. That's, I guess, just your red orange. So hopefully that helps. Okay, collagen. You guys, I'm so excited about the collagen, because collagen is not, it's not a new, like, I feel like the knowledge of collagen and all the great things that it does, like, that hit a few years ago, right? So one of my big questions was like, how is this different? There's so many collagen products on the market. I personally have been using one for several years. So that was my biggest, like, how is this different? So I'm going to be kind of looking off to the side a few times, because I have some really, I think, pretty good notes here from what we learned at our Diamond Retreat. So the big thing with this is that not only is the quality, doTERRA does everything with like, hey, we're doing highest level quality. Like, so not only do we have highest level quality here on our collagen, but it's very broad spectrum. So like the collagen powder that I've been using is like 4 collagen, like the 4 types of collagens, right? Ours that we're coming out with has collagen. And then anyone, Amy or Annette, like anyone can chime in if there's something that you guys wrote down that I didn't, but I have collagen 1, collagen 2, collagen 4, 5, 6, 9, and then I have 25. Anyway, like there's so many more strands of collagen, if that's the right word, in this one, that's a big difference. I just wanted to set that stage, because that was my question. It's like, okay, another collagen product, like, how is this different? It is very broad spectrum. It's actually hitting the body in a way that we don't have a collagen product out on the market that's going to do what ours is doing, right? So collagen is a protein. Okay, it's found in your bones and your muscles and your skin and your tendons, and it helps bind things together. So it's really important. And it's an abundant protein in the body. So when you're young, you're made up of 30% collagen, but over time you lose collagen, right? So this is why when I look at pictures of me as a child or a teenager, like my face just seemed more plump, I guess. And now it just seems a little more saggy, right? That's collagen. So yeah, most collagen products on the market are type 1 or type 2. That's why the one that I've been using for a long time, that's like 4 types. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a good one. But ours is so much better. So the MetaPower Advantage with the marine collagen and the NMN doesn't just have 2 types, but it has 9 unique collagen. Oh, can I say this right? Tripeptide types.
Tripeptide types. Yep.
Peptide. So here is, now I'm going to revert back to my notes. So we have like collagen 1 is related to skin beauty. That's one I think people think about a lot, is like collagen, skin, youthfulness, beauty, right? Collagen 2, that type is related to bone protection, to cartilage. Collagen 4 is your malleable dermis and your epidermis. Okay, so you can see they all target a little something different. Collagen 5 is stabilizing type 1 and 2. Do you know what that means, Amy, when I wrote that? Is it stabilizing type 1 and type 2? Okay. Collagen 6 helps with muscle function. It helps with your cell membranes. It helps to inhibit cellular apoptosis. This is huge, you guys, because if you're hearing this, you're like, what is cellular apoptosis? That's your body's way. Our cells have a life cycle. So that's your body's way of old, aging, dying cells. It goes after those cells, right, to kill them off. So this type of collagen inhibits the dying, poor, ineffective cells. We don't want to have free radicals in poor, bad cells. That's what, when you talk about cellular imbalances, okay, that's all what cancer is the bad cells gone amok, right? So this helps to inhibit that. It also helps with antioxidative stress, right? Again, our cells that are performing poorly under that oxidative stress, it's going to help prohibit that, so your cells are nice and plump and round and functioning like they should be. And then you've got collagen 9 is for cartilage, for your growth plates. This is a really big one for joints in intervertebral discs. So when you talk about aging and sore and creaky joints and discomfort there, that's part of collagen loss in the body. So this is going to help support that, right? And then the other type is supports brain aging. Okay, this is huge. Oh, this is so huge. I just think about everybody in my life, and I would say just including me, right? I think I still feel young, at least, but I want to be on top of my cognitive functioning and my brain health now. I don't want to wait and be in my 80s and have dementia. I know we're going to talk more about that, right? Because it happens year over year over year. Just that process, that cognitive decline, does not happen overnight. That is a long-term effect of some of these things being highly imbalanced. Okay, so like for me, that's when I might be like, oh, I can think of like, oh, my skin, or I can think of different things that I'm like, oh, I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited for the cognitive aging aspect, right? As well, because I just preventative. And then let's see.
And I would add to that, Jenica, that's why they're calling the dementia form of type 3 diabetes. A lot of doctors are starting to, that phrase is kind of catching on, because they're realizing, and they've discovered how much not only is it related to inflammation, but it's also related to your metabolism and your blood sugar, insulin levels. And as those rise that are higher, and your insulin and all that, they're finding that that is also linked and related to dementia in the brain. And so it's so linked with your blood sugar levels and insulin and glucose, all those things, that they're calling it a type 3 diabetes dementia. And so again, not only the collagen is going to be helpful, but also the other products as well that support with the blood sugar levels. So I love that you're getting support in so many different ways to help prevent in some of these. You guys, it's a huge percentage in my training with, and I need to go and look up the statistic. It was in one of my classes in my functional nutrition training, but for Americans that reach at least 80 years old, over 80% of them will develop dementia. And that's a huge, crazy statistic, like
I mean, that's
it's just
so
one of the most
epidemic.
common things once people start getting to those really older years. But the thing that we know is it is totally preventable by lifestyle. And
100%.
and one of those big ways is managing those blood sugar levels much better than the traditional American, sad American diet, the standard American diet. So
So, Amy, so I just listed a whole bunch of things that those different types of collagen do, right, in
yeah,
the body. So you're getting all of that in one. You're getting this really broad spectrum of collagen support. So I'm going to tell you just like, okay, so what does that mean? It means we're slowing biological aging. Okay. It means we're extending a healthier life span, or we're extending our health span. We are activating longevity in our genes. Okay. We are improving cognitive function. We talked about that. We are targeting lean muscle mass. That's another one, and tissue. Okay. All of that is affected by the support here with this spectrum of collagen in the body.
awesome. So exciting. I'm so excited. So, and it can be really helpful in weight loss, and it can be really helpful for your gut health. There's just so many benefits. So, okay, some of the other key ingredients, NAD plus, NADH, and NMN is the other. Let me see if I have the slide on the NMN. I think I didn't. Sorry, turn it. Anyway, so, okay, this is where NAD plus, NADH, and NMN all come in. These are the things that Dr. Sinclair has discovered in the last decade. Just to give you an idea, we'll talk about NAD plus here in just a second, but with the NMN, one of the most exciting things about his research is they've discovered, they're called our sirtuitin, I think is how you pronounce them, genes. And they've discovered in generations of populations where people live to be really old, regardless of their lifestyle. There's certain like niche populations where they found that this is the case. What they found is different is these sirtuitin genes are activated in the body. And so even though they're maybe not doing all the things to like live the healthiest lifestyle, these genes are like basically slowing the aging process and keeping them much younger and allowing them to extend their health span much longer. And what's so exciting is they've discovered that NMN is a supplement that actually activates our longevity genes. So we have them, but so often our lifestyle actually inactivates those genes. Isn't that interesting? The whole study of epigenetics basically has shown that yes, we all have our genes, but they're actually turned on or off in a simple term, in layman's terms, by different things in our lifestyle and our diet and all those things. And what's exciting is there are supplements and different things that we can do that can actually activate those genes, which basically helps slow the aging process in our body. So that's what NMN, which is one of the ingredients that is in the the collagen supplement pack, the MetaPower assist little packets. That's one of the main ingredients. And just to give you an example, when they discovered this years ago, they were so excited because they were doing studies on mice and they were supplementing them with NMN. A lot of times they'll do, mice studies first just because they have a lot of similar genetic, things to humans, and just to kind of test things and see, is this safe? Is this, and the mice who were taking the NMN supplement actually broke they had like a wheel that they could run so long and go so far, and it was designed to go thousands of miles past where the mice could actually ever physically run. And these mice that started having the NMN supplementation at just healthy levels broke the wheels because they were going thousands of miles past where a regular aging mouse would normally be able to go because of how it was affecting the genetics of the aging process in the mice. So just really exciting of what the NMN does for increasing energy in the body, for turning on those longevity genes, and basically helping really quite dramatically slowing the aging process. It's really exciting, the studies that have been done so far and what they're finding in humans with just how much people that are even older their aches are going away. They're having more energy than they've ever had. They're getting stronger. They're sleeping better. So NMN, that's what I'm really excited about. And it's something that is just really groundbreaking. They've discovered to be super, super supportive for extending that lifespan. So, and then lastly is the NAD plus and the NADH. And what's so cool about this is it works at a cellular level, and we have an AD plus in our bodies. And by our middle age, those levels of half of what they were when we were young. Okay, so this is something that pretty dramatically decreases in our bodies as we start to age. And it basically allows the cell to function properly. It's one of those key components in the body that helps your cells function properly. So as we're aging, what starts to happen is the cells basically start to, like, it's kind of like a CD where if you get a scratch on it, right, like that message isn't there anymore. And so it doesn't function. It's still working, right? But it's not how it's supposed to. And that's what actually starts happening in our cells as we age. And what's so exciting about the NAD plus is it can actually help to repair and increase that cellular function. And so when we're supporting and supplementing the body with it, you know, it allows us to have those repair benefits that we had when we were young that kept our cells so healthy. So anyway, it gives power to cellular repair. It helps generate the vast majority of cellular energy. So that's where people who are taking the supplement of the MetaPower Assist are really noticing, wow, I'm having more energy. And the thing, like any product, right, you're going to notice more difference after several months of consistency, because our bodies, when we're using natural things that are not synthetic, right, it's supporting the body in doing its own work. It's not coming in and doing it for the body. And so it takes time. It takes time for the body. Cellular regeneration takes time. And so a lot of people I've talked to have been using this, have noticed it sooner. But from what I've read in studies, maximum benefits people are starting to see at 4 months in, 6 months, where they're really starting to feel and see a difference, even though most people I've talked to have noticed much, much sooner. But just wanted to point out, because it's at a cellular level, it is a process that does take time. Anyway, so supplementing with natural, good quality sources, just like anything, the sourcing is very important. The sourcing of collagen is important. You guys, a lot of collagen out there has glyphosate, which is a really toxic chemical because it's coming from cows, and the cows are consuming so much glyphosate in their diet, and they have hormone pumps in their ear. And so when we're extracting the collagen, if it's from a bovine source, you're also getting, unfortunately, a lot of those trace chemicals that are really toxic in our bodies. So I love that the way we source is from a resource that we know is very clean. It's off the coast of Italy. doTERRA has exclusive sourcing. And all same thing with the NMN. They're very, very careful in particular in how it's sourced, because that of course makes a difference in the quality and the impact it has in our bodies. So anyway, yeah, Amy, go ahead.
Okay. On the NAD topic, NAD fuels your immune system. So without enough of it in the body, we start to decline. So that's one thing to know about that particular you don't say ingredient, chemical.
Yeah. Constituent. Yeah.
And then also, I thought this was really interesting. I wrote this down, I thought, because Nicole Stevens, who's a scientist, was talking to us about this, but athletes that had longer lifestyle. Let me see if I wrote this right. And short morbidity cycles. They believe that they have more NAD in the body. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So with that NAD and what it does in the body, you're reverse aging from the inside out.
Yeah.
So really cool.
So cool. And the NMN actually helps the body produce more of its own NAD plus as well, which is really, really cool. So super exciting. So let me stop sharing here so we can kind of see you guys. I have not been watching for questions in the chat. So can you guys help me out, leaders, if you guys can check out the chat? I'm going to share a little bit about, okay, are you excited? Are you wanting to get these products? We are so excited. We're so grateful. I think this is just getting at the root. If you like, that was the whole point of our class today, right? To help you see, like, supporting the body from the inside out is a really crucial way to improve our health. And exercise and diet are going to be your foundation. And these are that next level of support that are also going to help support our bodies in really just slowing the aging process, increasing our health span, and just vitality and energy and all those things. So if you want to learn more, oh, thanks, Linda. I know I struggle, as you guys can all tell. Good thing we're all friends, right? If you'd like to learn more, we want to invite you to and get these products sooner and at a better price than anybody else. This is what you can do. So doTERRA, we are actually having our well, I guess you can call it an international. We have our convention because people come from all over the world, actually, which is amazing. Next week, and they are broadcasting 5 hours where we're going to hear from all the doctors and the research. There's going to be a lot more content that we did not have today. I haven't seen those studies yet. They've been saving those studies for convention that have been done on our MetaPower Assist and our MetaPower Advantage. So we're going to get a lot more information. We're going to understand things even more in depth. This was just kind of a light touching on some of the key things today. But at convention, you can just, right now, you can go on, if one of you leaders could help me put in the chat the link. But if you just search doTERRA Convention 2022, it'll come up. But you can purchase the ticket. You want to use your ID number. If you don't have an ID number yet, if you're not a member yet, you can just put in zeros and you can still participate and watch. But it's $35 and you get a virtual ticket, which allows you to watch the 5 hours where we're going to hear all the goods and all the deep dive, and it's going to be exciting. And I want to point out is I've been to conventions several years now, and I love to go in person. If you guys, any of you who live local in Utah or in Idaho and you can drive, come. Like it's the best to be there. It's the biggest wellness convention, I believe, in the world. And it's a lot of them, we have people that do the business, but we have a lot of customers that come just to learn. I know, Annette, you went for years before you did the business, just as a customer. I know lots of people do. And so we really encourage you to come in person, but if not, the $35 virtual ticket is going to not only is going to allow you to have access to all the information. So I've been to many conventions and we get content and information there that we don't get ever at any other time. Because of compliance and because of the restrictions that doTERRA has put upon them, for some reason, we're just able to get a lot more of like the goods and the nitty gritty at convention than I've ever heard anywhere else in doTERRA. So it's worth being able to listen and participate and be a part of that. But you also get access to the convention kit, which is going to include all these products. It'll be between $150, excuse me, and $180. Plus, there will be extra products in it. There'll be exclusive oils. I believe birch is going to be one of them, and a few other ones that we never can buy that are kind of a big deal. So you'll have access to getting that kit, which is a really significant discount over the retail cost of everything that's in the kit. But you can only buy it if you have a virtual ticket. I know, I'm so excited for the kit too. I cannot wait to start using it. I'm excited for Rich. He's really loved using the MetaPower Assist, and we're excited for him to start using the Advantage as well, because I think that's going to be really helpful for him. But I'm excited for me. Like, I'm just excited for everybody. So anyway, so please, we invite you to register. That $35 is such a huge value for access to that discounted kit and to all the training and information from leading researchers and doctors. So I'm so excited. Anybody have any questions about getting that or anything we talked about today? I know that was a lot of kind of in-depth, deep dive content. You can go, if you are like a nerd like me and you like to learn more, one of our leaders pointed out the website nmn.com. The University of Tokyo has put up a lot of research that they've been doing on NMN. And that's kind of the lifespan book. If you're wanting to learn more about like intermittent fasting, I love the book Fast, Feast, Repeat. All of these are related to metabolism, blood sugar levels, going to have some really great practical things if you want to learn more and have some more support there. So any other questions?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, I've got a couple of questions. How long have they been doing the research on this, the MetaPower system?
Yeah, good question. I know that they started, it's been in the development for several years. They were actually hoping to introduce it a year ago at last convention, and they didn't because they wanted to continue really having enough solid research before coming out with it. So I know they've already completed several trials, and I know it's been done at least within the last year, if not before then. And I know so far they've had some, obviously, any research that's done, they're going to have smaller groups at first and then they expand. So I know they're in the process of doing some more larger sample size studies currently. I don't know the sample size of the ones previously, but I do know one of our doctors Dr. Oscar Thorpe, he's one of the leading infectious disease doctors in the Western United States. He was going to head up Primary Children's, the new hospital they're building. He talked about how the fact that even though the studies they've done so far have had smaller sample sizes, he said it's so hugely statistically significant that they're just like, normally in such a small sample group, they would see a much smaller statistical significance. They'd see much smaller results. So they're really, really excited by what they have done so far. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer to your question. But I know a lot of the things are in it have obviously been researched independently for the last decade. But that product put together specifically, obviously they've only been researching that in the last 1 to 2 years since it was put together. So
Amy, did you mention the blood work that part of what we have is actual blood work from, did you already mention that?
No, I didn't mention that. Yeah.
I just think that's so huge, right? That we have blood work prior to taking the line. And I'm not sure when I say the line, if it's just talking about the assist or the advantage or the whole thing.
Yeah, they're using a lot of markers, Jenica. They're using blood work, and they've had the participants wear a continual blood glucose monitor to be able to really see on a daily, hourly basis what their levels are, what they're eating.
But
they're reporting what they're
pressure, it's blood cholesterol, it's it's all the things, right? It's all the things that are like the most common things that are out of whack for the majority of us, right? It's it's not just like, oh, insulin, glucose. Although speaking of, I wanted to say this earlier when you were talking about insulin, Amy shared with us a really impactful podcast a while back on insulin levels, high insulin levels, and it's the same topic, right? Just how much that affects. And that was by another doctor. We listened to this podcast on the high insulin levels. And like cancers, like ovarian and prostate cancer are related. And they didn't say, you got to be careful when you're talking about some of these things that this causes this, right? There can be several pathways that get there. But what we know is that high insulin levels are part of the weaving and part of the fabric of like so many diseases, including many cancers. So just being aware that but anyway, sorry, this is a roundabout. But there is blood work that actually shows improved blood pressure, cholesterol levels, of course, blood glucose level or blood sugar levels, glucose levels, and then insulin and all of that. It's not just like, hey, we reported feeling better. It's like blood work, right?
Yeah. Yep, I love it. And what I was going to say is what some of the things that they recommend measuring, because it will improve, is your blood pressure, your fasting glucose levels, your waist, your triglyceride levels, and your HDL. So those are things that if you're going to try, when you try the product, I would encourage you. A lot of doctors, you can go in and get a physical, and this might be free or covered, or for a very small, 20 or 30 bucks, you can get your just physical done to test kind of your key markers, right? But those are ones that you'll specifically want to test: blood pressure, fasting glucose, your waist, measurements of your waist, triglycerides, and your HDL, your cholesterol levels, because they are seeing improvements in all of those areas from utilizing the MetaPower line. So really exciting. And so just a lipid panel would be good, right? To see improvements in that. And fasting insulin if you can. That's one of the things that Dr. Fung talks about, is a lot of times doctors usually don't test for insulin levels, but that's really the most powerful indicator of an issue, is if you have elevated insulin levels, because your insulin could be doing a good job of managing your blood glucose levels. So your blood glucose levels could be looking normal, but if your insulin is having to produce too much insulin, right? If there's some insulin resistance going on, and we don't always see that just from checking the blood glucose levels. So if you can, ask for those insulin levels as well, because they're very
way
important.
More important than glucose. Way more important. That's one of the things that we learned. Can I just point out, Gwen asked a question, How does MetaPower assist or aid in fats and oil digestion? And I think we saw that question earlier. And by the way, I don't know if you have the answer to that, Amy, but just so you guys know too, like we got like a pretty great, like, hey, this is what we're coming out with. We got a pretty great intro and all of our minds were blown, but we still have so much to learn, just so you know. So we're super excited about convention. And just to underscore again, any of you guys can see that, right? We did put, if you want to go back and chat and look at that, we did actually put a link, and maybe somebody can copy and paste into that again, into how you can get a virtual ticket, right? For $35 on something that I think is as impactful as this. You may want to hear it. I know I do, right? Like there's so much more to learn. However, so anybody
available for at least 30 days too. So it is next week. Thursday will be the main day that will be the content about the MetaPower.
And you'll be amazed at the like I was one of those people that went to a doTERRA convention before doing the business as well, right? Because I was looking for some answers for a child of mine. And anyway, but I was blown away. And this was several years ago, right? But I remember going and being like, wow, there's so much like actual research behind it. Like I didn't know that I was going to see that. So that's what you're going to get on Thursday too, is a medical panel. They're going to show you the research. We're going to learn a lot more even from that. But to try to answer that question, this is my only note that I wrote from when we did get kind of the initial download on it. Adipogenesis, I guess that's fat cells. It says that the MetaPower line is most effective at reducing fats. I was writing so fast, but anyway, that's the only thing that I saw on here, but it says it's most effective at reducing fats in our fat cells.
They have shown it helps to shrink fat cells, but that is not related to your question about processing fats and oils in our diet. And I do not know the answer to that question. So that'll be interesting to see if we learn anything about that at convention. And someone had asked if there's a possibility of even being able to replace insulin type 2. And yes, the answer is yes, definitely. We've already, I know Jenica has someone she's worked with where he was able to get off of his insulin and just use lifelong vitality, which was supporting his metabolism and his blood sugar levels, as well as Slim and Sassy and some of the other oil blends that help support it. So we've already been able to see people have progress with that, just with what we already have. And so it's exciting that we have some things even more powerful. We're going to see even more people, I think, have more results and be able to get off insulin, hopefully, which is really exciting.
Amy, I just talked to this same friend you're talking about tonight, and I don't see that he's on, but he was going to hop on the call because I was like, you need to listen to this, because same friend you're talking about, I actually just talked to him tonight, and he's like, Jenica, I just went to my doctor, and this is now my 2-year checkup, and with what he's been already doing, and that's before this whole line came in, but with doTERRA products, he's like, I'm still 2 years in and my levels have remained low, right? So yeah, we've seen
not in the type 2 diabetic levels anymore even. So his A1C levels are no longer in type 2 diabetes. They're pre, and that's just so exciting with lifelong vitality and Slim and Sassy, which is MetaPower is just a little even improved Slim and Sassy. So we're super excited. Yeah, amazing. Yay! Well, we went a little bit over. Hope that was okay, but we just appreciate your guys' time. We're so excited. We hope you'll join us virtually, and if you live local, talk to your wellness advocate and come and join us in person. It is the most fun. I actually have a lot of my customers that are coming just because they want to come learn, and they're excited to be a part of just this beautiful community of people that care about the world and mission and purpose, but also about our health and doing good, and just so grateful. So have a wonderful night all, and thanks for hopping on, and we'll share the recording. So see you soon next week.